Hello everybody. For those who don't know me, I'm Chris Talbot. I'm a Biodiversity Project Manager currently in post. Just a bit of reminiscing on what Ian was saying. I joined the project 2009 as a GIS officer and Phase 1 officer, together with Owen Powell, who wasn't able to come today. And we were interviewed by Dave Lowe and Gina, and basically we were offered 1-year contracts each. I'd just been made redundant, so my background was from a big GIS mapping organisation, which you may know, called MapInfo Pitney Bowes, a big American company whose priorities changed and didn't match mine. And I thought I'd like to do something different, and I'd already done a course in ecological environment and ecological studies. It's a part-time course, and I thought my GIS skills would be lent nicely to biodiversity and ecology, because I thought there was a gap there. And this job happened to come up, and I thought, I'll try that, as you do. And subsequently, I became manager. Again, Dave and Gina interviewed me. And here I still am. And it was really just something I thought I'd try out. I looked at this data, I thought this is really interesting. The people who work here are really interesting, they're really passionate about what they do. And this just makes a nice change. So here I am today, custodian of this valuable data set that nobody else really has at this level. And that's it. And it does exactly what it says on the map. And I'll explain a bit about that. So, just to recap, what have we done in these 20 years? Well, as Ian was saying, we've surveyed and mapped Warwickshire sub-region to a field level with regular revisions. We've identified now 534 local wildlife sites, but there's still another 1,300 out there. We've consistently provided the evidence base for every green infrastructure plan and ecological report for our partners since the project started. It's fed into every plan we've been requested to do. It's the database for planning development control. It's being looked at every day against planning applications. It's informed 25 habitat local biodiversity action plans, and the report is all there. I think it's contributed to a wider understanding of wildlife habitats and people because of the work we do with volunteers, parishes, local wildlife groups, individual landowners. We go out there, we're out in the field, we meet people, we talk to them, and we get invited to give talks. And this is some of the unsung work that goes on behind the scenes that you don't see. And it's provided information to other wildlife projects. And we provide it as an information source for researchers and students. We give them the data under a license to do projects. Again, something that goes on behind the scenes. So how's it been in terms of value for money? Well, Ian might correct me, but when I look back at the original proposals, the estimated startup costs at 90,000 or 105,000 over 2 years. So that was roughly what it was going to cost to get this project off the ground. And that's basically what the project was costing. What happened after that? Well, here we are. Current cost of the HBA with the local wildlife sites project is £88,000, shared amongst our partners. And we say that the equivalent cost is what we put in our document, the benefits of the HBA to the partnership, it's about £150,000. So we reckon the estimated cost of the partnership must be £60,000 plus, at least, if you were to go out and try and do this every year. The costs, without the local wildlife sites, £46,000. That's a 4% increase since 1995. 20 years and a 4% increase. So if you look at the cost, that flat line just shows how the costs are pretty much flat line. So clearly, we're not necessarily in it for the money. So why has it been so successful? Well, I thought a lot about this. I can boil it down to these 3 key ingredients. They're really fairly obvious. Paul already mentioned the strong partnership. And this was mentioned in the European Union Committee for the Regions 2006. Halting the loss of biodiversity 2010 and beyond. And it says the groundbreaking initiative is being used by all unitary county and district authorities in the sub-region for influencing policies and subsequent monitoring, development, control, forward planning, all the things that it's set out to do. A target programme for resurvey keeps the resource up to date and accurate, which needs continuing funding for all partners. And nothing's changed. It's still going, it's still doing this. We've got the Phase 1 habitat survey method. It came out in 1995, at the same time as when the HBA was founded. It was founded based on this survey method, and that's what it did. And it's still going now. It's an industry standard. It's recommended and used by all ecological consultancies. It's well used, well known about. And the beauty of it is it's a straightforward system. We can teach people to do it. People who have no background in ecological surveying, plant identification, or mapping, we can teach them this. We can teach them this in a day, and they can go out and start collecting data with support. The original methodology, as Ian points out, was to go out into the fields and just record what was on the ground using the Phase 1 methodology, Phase 1 handbook. Collect the results, put it into the GIS, go out again the next year, do a field survey, and so on. And we're still doing the same thing. It still works, it's still perfectly fine. But behind the scenes there have been technical improvements. When Ian started, he mentioned landline. Landline was before OS master map. We go that far back. Landline had to be converted to a full polygon. I don't want to get too technical about this, but MasterMap came out as a complete polygon set, right down to field level. Because we'd already collected it in the OS landline, one of the jobs we did when we joined, Owen and I came, was to do the positional accuracy correction, which is effectively shifting it from landline to the much more accurate OS MasterMap. So it was a whole technical process in itself, and that took about a year to do that. We converted the TechTrack grids into one continuous map layer, because they had all been split by grids. And then we looked at the habitat categories. Are we well covered for Warwickshire? So we added things like wet woodlands, which is about priority. It wasn't a category, but we've added it. Bogs we introduced because John Bowley found some, and we thought we'd better put those on. And then we incorporated species-rich hedgerows. So we started identifying hedgerows, going out surveying where we found a nice rich hedgerow, count up the species, mark it as species-rich. And then the original survey started with 1991 imagery. We've now updated to 2013 imagery. The target notes have just gone on increasing, becoming more detailed. So a few years ago, we decided to put them all into an access database with the help of some trainees. Converted all those records into a searchable database. And then, more recently, over the last 2-3 years, we've added new attributes to the Phase 1 mapping. So we've added biodiversity offsetting scores, and we've added connectivity scores. So we're enriching, improving the data interpretation of it. And then we've done things to help our own process, such as the automatic generation of Phase 1 packs. All the information that we supply, we do it under license with Warwickshire County Council and the Observatory team. we couldn't do this level of mapping without that underlying data source. We have additional data sources we can use. We can use their historical mapping. We can use their flood maps if we wanted to, other environmental, historical mapping as well. So we've got a rich information source. And then finally, the actual survey program, the people who make it happen. So we've got a dedicated, knowledgeable team who manage the information, help collect it, help train people to use it. We run an annual phase 1 training program, so we go out and we ask people, do you want to come and do some surveying? We don't charge them for it, but in return we ask for a completed survey tetrad. We also provide introduction to ecological surveying for graduates, people on training programs. Again, Ben Wood was here, he's been through this program. But also, we work with community groups. And we've been invited to parishes to explain what we do, and we've given them training programs. And this is an example of pictures here. This is Preston on Stour. This is where Phil Clayton and myself, we went along. Phil's also a volunteer who's contributed a lot of time to the program. And we basically taught them phase 1 survey to do for their parish. And they're out there now collecting information. So you've got these little groups going on. And now you hear about citizen science. Well, I think we've been doing it for 20 years now. So if anybody wants to do a phase 1, this is the application. If you can do those things, please come along and join one of our survey groups. So the old maps, back in Ian's day, here we've got, that was the old aerial imagery that formed the basis that's on the mapping. And this is where they went out and actually recorded in the field, and these blank areas that had no dates. So that's how it looked 2001. Where are we at today? Well, we've got a slightly larger area, and this is all field survey. So all these tetrads have been surveyed, but obviously there's still some variation. Some of these might have been done more than once, but we're currently at more than half currency. So that's the current state of the progress. Clearly we still have some red areas that need to be worked on, but we're getting around to those. This is an original phase 1, 2001. Notice here the grid lines, they're all subdivided by tetrads. These actually cut through. This underlying map is the current base map. That's how it looks today. At that level of detail, we can see what's been going on. So you can draw your own conclusions on what might be going on here. We've got more woodland that's been surveyed. There's an increase in plantation woodland. So these were grasslands recorded in 2001. So percentage of the total area still stayed pretty much the same. The actual hectares slightly up, but you can see this is the agriculturally improved grasslands, slightly down on that. But what we've got more of, we've introduced, is this poor semi-improved category, which is a sort of a transition zone between the semi-improved, which is predominantly what we'd identify for local wildlife sites, which we think are still important, including the marshy grassland. And because of the increased area, less than 1% is what we'd say is the triple SI quality grassland. So that's the unimproved. Our local wildlife sites are now integrated into the phase 1 habitat mapping. And we're collecting information that goes back into the phase 1 on local wildlife sites. And this is just an example of one of the community sites that we did a couple of years ago at Combrook. So this is the initial meeting to have a discussion, and Stephen Trotter will remember this because he signed the letter of support for the grant bid for this site. and we did this survey to provide the evidence base for this site. And then the community all got together, bought the site, turned it into a local wildlife site, community reserve, and they manage it. But what I wanted to say is that the emphasis is on local. These are of local importance, and we're trying to get the message out that these sites are local importance. They might not be nationally important, but to Warwickshire, to people in local communities, this is their important local sites. And we meet with local authorities, local community, nature reserves, farmers, a small holding, and we provide advice and support for them. And this is the latest local biodiversity action plans, which Gina and Ruth have put together. I sit on the steering group, help provide the information that goes into the reporting to try and get the action plans going to see what progress is being made. So again, HBA feeds into this information. The Lawton report, we all know the Lawton report, but this is what we work off now. It says what we do: protecting and improving the quality of sites, enhancing connection corridors, creating new sites to expand, reducing the pressure on wildlife, providing wide environments through buffering. And this is what we're trying to work towards. This is what we're trying to show our partners what we're trying to do with this information. So we've done our biodiversity offsetting, habitat distinctiveness, which is an easier way to interpret all the phase 1 categories. How important are these categories? How can we group them into some sort of meaningful information set that other people can interpret? What's important for the planners to know about these habitats? So this is one way of doing it, and it's a score that obviously feeds into the calculation for biodiversity offset. And we add this to the phase 1 as a new data variable that they can use themselves. We're working on habitat connectivity. We started with the University of York 3 years ago. We've annually run a model to categorise the habitats according to these scores. And we've used this information, trying to interpret it, and then trying to put it into reports to explain where creation should be, where connection should be, so where you should be targeting your resources, if you like, and what to protect. And more recently, Ben Wood has been working on ecological connectivity for the HS2 route, and he's here today, so if you've got any questions to him, he'll explain more than this about this than I certainly can. But again, it's using this information. It's there to be used, interpreted, and to inform policy. So what's the project delivered? Well, it's the longest continuous phase 1 survey. It's created a unique record of habitat and land use change in the UK. We could also say it's the longest running volunteer phase 1 training programme. It's consistently delivered ecological information, reports and green infrastructure planning. And it's a rich source of information for research projects. And I'll give you an example with the work that's been done, ecosystem services mapping. So the challenges, already been alluded to: halting habitat loss and fragmentation. Continued ongoing partnership still needs to be funded. Money has to come from somewhere. We are looking for alternative income streams to support the project's objectives. And I think we need to engage more with local communities, get that story out there. And the challenge is about valuing nature. What is the value of nature? And there you go, 20 years and still going. This is the reference to Toy Story, which actually started 20 years ago. So thank you to all our partners. Thank you especially to our volunteers. Maggie, who's been fantastic today. Ruth for all her support and work. Phil and all the others, the ones that couldn't be here today, who are all out there helping us out. And this is the team as it currently stands. So thank you for all of this. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening.